Hello everyone, my name is Garik Tate. Today I'm going to be walking you through how you can be getting 20 leads with AI empowered cold outreach in 30 days. Basically, I'm going to be walking you through our system for getting leads with AI. I'm going to be walking you through the cost because then that's how you can decide if this is something that you want to be pursuing for yourself. And when I say cost, I'm going to be saying the cost it would actually be costing you out of pocket if you want to replicate our results and do it yourself. Fundamentally, this is a presentation I wish that I had at the beginning of the year, as it would have saved us a lot of time and would have also made ourselves and our clients a lot more money. Let's jump right into it. What is AICO? AICO is what we call our systems and processes for cold outreach. And as a software development company, ended up automating most of this as we are quite lazy. But this is something that you can do manually. You really don't need to be a developer in order to do any of this. You can see here that there are about 4 to 5 major phases of AICO. The very first part is your prime scraper. This is the tools that you're going to be using in order to scrape your initial list. Depending on where you can find your ideal client profile, you'll be using different types of tools. The 4 most common sources that we use in our scraping and cold outreach are LinkedIn, Google Maps, Apollo, and then this last one I just call public databases, as it just refers to any public database with accessible information. Essentially, the output of all of these sources is going to be a spreadsheet of relevant customers, along with their LinkedIn information or other information about them that will be feeding into the AI later down the process, so the AI can write better personalized messaging to them in order to have them act on whatever your call to action is, whether that's booking a call, signing up for a newsletter, whatever your call to action in your business is. The next part is your master database, which you then are going to enrich with enrichers and validators to essentially get their email addresses. One thing to note, you'll see here on this diagram that we have make.com as a tool that's used in between these different stages. The reason why is that we want to be automating as many steps of this as possible. So at this point, all of our work for an AICO campaign goes in the very beginning to set the campaign up. But then once we turn it on, it just runs by itself. And we use tools like make.com and other no-code, low-code tools in order to automate the entire process. So if you're interested in that, then you can get our contact information down below. So you've already scraped the leads that you want to be targeting. Now it's time to make sure that you actually have their contact information. And there's another set of tools in order to be using there. I'm going to be walking you through which tools you should be choosing depending on your target market and depending on how big you want to take this. Then comes the AI magic part, using tools like OpenAI and Clay.com in order to actually write the cold messaging before we then send all this information over to your sender, whether that's something like SmartLead or Instantly. Those are going to be the tools that you actually send the messages from. So let's walk through this a little bit more detail and take it step by step. For the scrapers, most of the campaigns that we run, we actually just rely on LinkedIn. And there are 3 primary tools that we use when we're scraping from LinkedIn. The first tool is you need a Sales Navigator account. Now, pro tip, most Sales Navigator accounts cost about $99. You can get a significant discount by using a tool like Next Level CRM or Aya. Note that I'm in no way affiliated with either of these 2 platforms, but want to share the information with you if it's helpful to get a cheaper Sales Navigator account. What this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to use advanced filters in order to narrow down your target market and make sure that you're contacting the best possible person with your offer. Once you've narrowed down that ICP or ideal client profile, which if you don't know how to do that, that's what we're going to be walking you through a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned. Once you have that, it's now time to actually scrape those leads. And the best tool that we use for that is a tool called Golden Leads. Once again, in no way affiliated with them, but it's a good tool in order to get around LinkedIn's scrape protections, as they have a farm of LinkedIn accounts and they will allow you to scrape the leads that you want from that list. They cost about 3 cents per row of the table that you would be scraping. Golden Leads is fantastic if you want to be scraping things in mass, but if you're going for a smaller type of campaign, I can actually recommend Phantom Buster, as Phantom Buster will just be automating the scraping through your own LinkedIn. That's going to be a significant bottleneck if you only have one LinkedIn account, as you can only scrape a few thousand leads per day, but it might be worth it depending on your target market. And you can see here the different prices that Phantom Buster have for their different packages. Next is Google Maps. Google Maps is a great way to be scraping those leads that maybe don't have some sort of LinkedIn presence. For this, the tool that we recommend is a tool called Outscraper. Once again, in no way affiliated with it, but I want to share with you that there is a good AppSumo deal as of the time of this recording, where you can get a lifetime membership for about $100. And then that allocates to you about $35 worth of credits every single month, which for our purposes has been good enough. Though, frankly, we don't use Google Maps as much as we use this next platform, Apollo. Why would you choose Apollo instead of using LinkedIn? Well, the simple reason is that Apollo has a lot more filters that really help you narrow down your target market even further. So I would warn you that if you can get away with using LinkedIn, that you probably should, because LinkedIn has more up-to-date information. Frankly, from my view, 90% of Apollo's information is just really scraped by LinkedIn, and there are large gaps. They don't update their data all that regularly. So what that means is that there are certain inaccuracies as people update their information, or frankly, also I've seen pretty often in our own data that Apollo will scrape the wrong lead that has the same name. That's not too uncommon. And so for those reasons, I would always prefer using LinkedIn directly, but sometimes Apollo is the best tool for the job. I would say especially because there are ways that you can scrape significantly more leads at a very cost-effective price. We do get an Apollo account, but we get the cheapest subscription, which allows you to scrape about 1,000 leads per month. That is not enough for what we're doing. But importantly, we do get access to all of Apollo's filters when we do that. And at that point, we can then use other tools in order to scrape more of Apollo's data. You can check out Enrich IQ and Export List. Both of these tools work by taking the search URL from Apollo and then scraping that entire lead list and then sending it to you over email. From what I've used, Export List is better at getting some of the filters right, but Enrich IQ will give you more information. So you might have to test these two different platforms and see which one works for you. You can see their pricing here, which can be very cost effective if you're going to be running 50,000 plus campaigns. Once again, not affiliated with any of these products, just want to get you the cheapest price possible and the most bang for your buck. Long story short, we do this as a lead agency and we want to be passing on our learnings over to you. The fourth source is really just a catch-all sort of source. So this is if you're going to be scraping publicly available information, such as on Crunchbase. But the reality is pretty much every industry out there might have some sort of database of your ideal client profile if you can scrape it. Let's say you have a campaign for real estate brokers. You might want to scrape a platform like Zillow. Or if you want to be scraping exit planners, this is actually something we've done in one of our campaigns. You might want to be scraping the Exit Planning Institute's list of accredited exit planners, just as another example of another place that you can be getting data in mass. Now, whichever platform you're going to be scraping is, the tool that I would recommend, and shout out to Eric Nowoslawski for giving me the heads up on this tool, I would recommend Zenrose, as it really does most of the hard work for setting up proxies and scrapers on your behalf. So those are the sources and the tools that we would be using in order to be scraping the initial lead list. But now you have a lead list, you probably have it in some sort of a spreadsheet. This would allow you to use AI in order to customize your copy for them. It's now time to actually figure out, how do you contact them? Well, frankly, a lot of these tools like Apollo can sometimes be giving you their email addresses, but those email addresses, in my experience, are very often out of date and very often will give you bounce emails. And even if they do give you an email address, they typically don't give you the emails with a high level of saturation. So these are the tools that we would recommend that you check out in order to enrich the emails and validate those emails. Later on in the presentation, I'm going to walk through these a little bit more and explain to you which times you would choose one over the other. But let's move on. The last two steps of AICO is now the fun part. Actually using AI to generate the cold copy and the hooks of your emails, and using tools like SmartLead or Instantly in order to be sending out the emails. Important note, if you are running this for your own internal uses, I would recommend Instantly. I just find it to be a lot more user-friendly for new users and also has a lot more done for you style services. SmartLead, frankly, is a harder platform to use, but it's much better if you're an agency and if you are going to be running with multiple clients. Whichever platform you use, SmartLead or Instantly, they're going to be running on top of email accounts that you're going to be having to set up. Later on in this presentation, I'll walk you through how you can set up email accounts in mass cost effectively, but just know the tools that we most often use is Outlook instead of Gmail, and we typically buy the domains with Porkbun, but sometimes with GoDaddy. And that is AICO in a nutshell. Let's talk about the associated costs in aggregate. This is the fun part because it's basically a reality check of, is this right for you if you're going to be running this yourself? Do note that once again, these are not AICO's prices. Instead, we're just giving you a peek behind the curtain of how much you can actually expect to be spending this yourselves. This table here shows our costs broken down. This column right here shows our monthly costs at different sizes of campaigns. If we're going to be running a single campaign at 2,000 emails per month, it's going to cost us around $851. This is based on our internal calculations and based on our historical data. If we're going to be running a campaign of 10,000 emails sent per month, then that's going to be costing us closer to $2,439. Now, importantly, some assumptions we have baked into this. One is that we typically go for quality over quantity. And what I mean by that is we typically don't spare a lot of expenses to make sure that we have the highest quality email addresses with the lowest possible bounce rates. And also we spend quite lavishly on the AI in order to make sure that we have very, very well-crafted AI messaging that goes through multiple iterations with AI in order to make sure it's high quality. And so depending on your lead list and depending on your tech setup, your cost could look dramatically different. That's why we have these two columns on the left-hand side that really walk you through what the expected minimum and expected maximum you could expect to pay for these types of campaigns. If you're going to be really focusing on running a low cost but high value campaign, you could be expected to be paying somewhere closer to this range. Do note that the costs do not go up linearly with the added emails sent, as sending 10,000 emails doesn't cost 5 times more than 2,000 emails. It typically only costs about twice as much. Also important to note, these are campaigns where we're assuming we're sending out 3 emails per contact, and therefore sending out 10,000 emails is actually closer to 30,000 per month when you note that we're also sending out follow-ups. On the right-hand side, you will see our cost breakdown of where our money is being spent when we are running these campaigns out of our own tech setup. All right, quick break. Future me here. Now that you know what AICO is and how much it will cost you if you're going to be doing it independently, you're probably wondering, how do we actually get started? Well, of course, you can always reach out to us and we'll see if we can help you out directly. Or if you want to be doing it yourselves, you can watch our video series that we're currently in the middle of publishing, walking you through every step of the AICO journey. If the next video is already up, you can click right here and dive straight in. It's all about the first step of AICO, which is scraping the leads. If it's not up yet, well, that means you come too early. So make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell below so you can be notified once it goes live, and I'll see you then.